Hello, everybody. I am in my classroom right now, and as you can see, I'm pretty bare bones right now. I haven't fully set up my area the way I want it. However, I do want a small area to do videos while I'm away from home because I think it would make me a little bit more efficient, which is what I want to talk about today. And I want to share with you an anecdote that I remember from one of my favorite authors, Kurt Vonnegut. Now, this anecdote used to make its way around Facebook a lot. Um, as to my knowledge, it's a little over 20 years old. However, it came a little bit before the iPhone really came to be what we know it today. And even though during that time, uh, the iPhone and smartphones were not where we know them to be, I think this applies to what we're going through with AI. And in his anecdote, he's talking about how his wife questions him one day on why he's buying one envelope at a time. And apparently he's been doing it for quite some time. And when she asks him about it and says, you know, you're not a poor man. You could afford hundreds of envelopes at a time. You could go online and buy them. He pretends not to hear her. However, in his pretending, he's thinking about all the tasks he's actually doing while he's buying that one envelope. He's thinking about all the things he sees in the world as he walks to go buy that one envelope. He thinks about gorgeous women that he sees. He thinks about the fire truck that drives by and he gives them a thumbs up. And he goes on and on for just a little bit and talks about all those great things that he sees and experiences. He concludes that anecdote with the idea that people are dancing animals. This idea that as people, we are free to roam about the world and enjoy life and enjoy all the nuances of life that we're supposed to. And because of that, if he goes online and uses a computer to buy these envelopes, he's making himself more efficient. Absolutely. He doesn't need to go out in the world and accomplish this one little task that should only take him less than 10 minutes. However, in being more efficient, we're losing that nuance of who we are as people. I think of ChatGPT, and I think of this training I just recently did last week, in which they're showing us a lot of really useful things, especially for myself. I'm not a great graphic designer. However, when I use something like Canva AI, I can make my presentations in the classroom a lot more appealing to my students. And then there's the scheduling aspect. There's the tools that it brings forward to expediting those little tasks that probably took up a lot more time. For myself, it would be something like lesson planning. For instance, there's a book I want to read with my students coming up in the next few weeks. And I had it run through a bevy of lessons with all the standards that I already knew about. And it gave me a whole lesson plan from September all the way through November. Made me more efficient. And I think with that efficiency, I have to be careful. And I think with that efficiency that people see in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever it is they're using, it's something that we have to cautiously go into. Because as we become more efficient, I don't think employers are going to sit well with that efficiency in knowing that, again, for instance, my lesson plans, if I'm doing long-range lesson plans, that could take up to a whole day to do. However, if I no longer need that day to do it, what am I doing with that extra time? And I think back to the pandemic in which people were working from home and people were seeing a lot of freedoms and feeling a lot of freedom in, hey, I don't need to wake up 2 hours before I go to work. I could actually wake up a half hour before I go to work, drink some coffee, and do my work from my computer. I could have my slippers on. I can not be physically present in the meeting. I could listen while I drive. I could listen on a beach to a Zoom meeting. And those freedoms that people found in working from home didn't sit well with employers, because I remember the tools that started popping out, right? We had monitors that started looking at eye contact during exam for students. and monitoring if they were cheating, or browser tools that were monitoring if people were going back and forth on tabs. We saw people that had to have their cameras on during Zoom so that people could make sure that they weren't on some beach attending a meeting. It didn't sit well with employers that we had that freedom. I think it could have gotten a lot worse if working from home had become the norm. Because at this point, working from home is kind of going away now. It's not like there. Like, it was almost hopeful. It was a hopeful thing during the work from home movement, that it could actually stick around for a long time. I was somebody that really hoped there would be something in teaching that I could work from home and do something that I could, hey, I'm actually really good at putting together my lesson plans on a Zoom presentation or even a video form. However, we were back on campus a few months later. I think that with ChatGPT and seeing that efficiency become the norm, employers are going to really wonder what we're doing with that time. And it's really up to us to cherish that downtime, because I think downtime is something that should be baked into every job. And I think it's okay. But I'm just like one guy, right? One thing I took from one thing I took from one of my old jobs is that if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Very basic idea, but I know that a lot of jobs have that mentality. I was raised that way too. My dad definitely was somebody that said if I was going to go out and get a job, to start cleaning if I had downtime. Apparently employers really like it when you clean. And while that is a good skill, I think when it comes to tasks that we could be doing with our downtime, there's really no limit to them. I was also very good at performing that job and stocking the shelves in just a few hours that I was given. It was an 8-hour job with an hour lunch. So I was there for 9 hours a day, and I knew when I had to work the hardest. I figured that out pretty fast. I figured out I have to work the hardest between the dinner rush, 2 and 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it was, and the last 2 to 3 hours of my shift. That left me up to 3 hours sometimes at a really slow time of the year, up to 4 hours, in which I didn't have to be working that hard. And I could still get my job done above the minimum. Employers didn't like that. Well, more specifically, my managers didn't like that. So, that downtime that I had, again, never sat well with my managers. And I know it's not going to sit well with employers, well, whatever your job is, when they're asking you, well, it took you 20 minutes to do your lesson plans through ChatGPT. What did you do with the rest of your day? And perhaps, yes, there is an absolute infinite amount of things you could do with your day. But that downtime is no longer there. You can't just say like, well, I was doing, this on ChatGPT, and after lunch, I had to run this through Claude and so forth and so forth. Because even though during all those demonstrations of LLMs, they're talking to people saying, if you use our AI model and you tell Claude to code an app for you, you could go get a cup of coffee. Go enjoy that time that it takes Claude to code. Sure, right now, I think we'll be able to. However, I don't think that in the future that's going to be a thing. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hopeful. I, like a lot of people, use ChatGPT for a lot of things. Not in terms of creation, just in terms of efficiency and as a tool to get smaller tasks done. As we see AI agents take a bigger role in LLMs, we're going to see a lot of different tasks get expedited as well. There's people saying that they are filing job applications, hundreds of them, using an AI agent. So the world is getting faster, but what we're going to do with that time as employees, what we're going to do with that time as just regular people, as dancing animals, as Kurt Vonnegut likes to put it, we need to figure that out. We need to cherish it, and we need to protect it, because we are going to be expected to be that much more efficient as time goes on. If you've made it this far into my video, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye.